It was a seesawing final round with Schmidt losing his overnight lead, then winning it back. With a trip to America as first prize plus around $4,000 in cash, it was pressure golf. Last year's winner, Queenslander Rod Pampling, was on Schmidt's heels. On the 15th, he putted a beauty for par. But Schmidt held on, shooting a 72 to win by 2 shots from Pampling. Bonham and Podlich tied for third. And at Nobby's Beach, action aplenty from the Nippers at the Newcastle Branch Surf Carnival. From the 8s to the under-14s, 1,000 junior lifesavers represented clubs from Hawk's Nest south to Catherine Hill Bay. It was a challenging surf for the Nippers, especially in the board events. Next weekend, Foster will host the Interbranch titles with 39 young surfers competing from Newcastle. And from there, it's the state titles in February.
Dig that out.
We need a photograph of everyone. Can we get everyone?
To 254 children from the Hunter, the Newcastle City mission is Santa Claus.
And there's always that emotional blackmail put on them by their children. We must have this or we must have that. And it's very hard to say no to children. And there's a lot of single-parent families that are finding it very hard this Christmas.
With their parents struggling, the mission is the only place which will provide them with Christmas presents.
We've had a lot of donations from schools and from the school children. In fact, over 3,000 children have helped with collecting of tin food.
The only job now is to pack the cans of food and presents into hampers, and there's nobody more experienced than Audrey Higham and Violet Rose. The Adamstown pair have helped pack the hampers at the mission for the past 40 years, and Audrey, who is 84 years young, and Violet, the baby of the two at 75, have no plans for retirement.
Hate to think of a child waking up and getting nothing for Christmas. Yeah, but you're not.
Have you got any plans for retirement?
No.
The Lake Macquarie Heritage Study was presented to Council last night. It's taken almost 2 years to complete and has cost Council $30,000, with another $10,000 from the state government. It identifies 262 sites and buildings with heritage significance, including the Lambton Colliery at Redhead and the Cast Iron Reservoir at Whitebridge. While Mayor John Kilpatrick agrees they have heritage value, there are other sites he's not so sure of.
There's certainly some old buildings that we've identified that I think are a long way short of heritage.
In particular, the Mayor points to this garage at Spears Point, the and the Wangi Power Station, all listed for heritage consideration. Then there's the Cockle Creek Rail Bridge at Argenton. It too has apparent heritage value.
The worry I have is that if they get certain listings, it may be very difficult to actually redesign roads in the future, and that really has been a problem road, and there have been many accidents up there over the years.
The Council will notify the owners of the properties involved within 3 weeks. Despite the Mayor's doubts about some aspects of the study, it will be launched with great fanfare this Thursday by Planning Minister Robert Webster. Jodie McKay, NBN News. Students from Cardiff Primary School received their award this morning at a ceremony at Pasminco Metal Sulphide. The company is the major sponsor of the awards, which recognise local schools and their commitment to the environment.
The whole school was involved. The teachers were enthusiastic, encouraging. The students were just involved to the nth degree. They were wonderful.
As well as recycling plastics and aluminium cans, students from Cardiff compost their lunch scraps and they've transformed the school grounds.
The children back in 91 said that it was dull, boring and dangerous, so we've been trying to correct those problems.
This area at the front of the school was bare dust. It's now a green showpiece, one staff, students and parents can be proud of.
On working bee days, which may be a Saturday and a Sunday, we can have up to 170 parents plus children working in the playground at one time.
The school will represent Lake Macquarie at next year's State Awards. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
They may have won the race on Sunday in New Zealand, but only a few hours home and the champagne was still flowing. The Nobby's Beach crew of Cliff Island, Dennis Ayres, Gordon Wallace, Bruce Sharp and Frank Darcy are all in their 50s and are as proud as punch of their gold medals. Due to the expensive freight costs, they shared a boat with Mollymook. Competing in an almost flat surf at Mount Maunganui, the boys from Newcastle blitzed their opposition in every heat and eventually the final. Right on their tail in the last race was not one of the American, Canadian or British crews, but neighbours, Swansea Caves.
The usual gamesmanship of hardly talk to each other, that's on with every event I think, but at the end of it all we're all good mates.
The swell may have been almost non-existent, but it didn't make the rowing any easier.
They put everything out, it was 120% effort, and I don't think I've ever seen a boat crew, and I've had quite a many over the years, many of them, put so much effort in to try and win an event.
The crew are all well-known local sportsmen, and although they won plenty of medals in their earlier years, they set their minds for the ultimate accolade, a world championship.
Mostly I was really overwhelmed with the effort the boys had put in. I mean, they're real champions, and I think it wouldn't matter what era of rowing, that 4 guys would have been champions.
But it may not be their last chance at glory. They're already talking about backing up for the next Masters Championships in 1996.
As it is now, we'll just relax for a week or two, but I think they want to train again tomorrow, so you can't stop them, can you?
Other locals to do well at the championships, Bruce McDonald from Nobby's, he won gold in the surf race, and Dixon Park's Mari Williams, who won 3 gold medals for beach and swim events.
The electorate of Swansea was a Labor stronghold until independent Ivan Welsh rocked the ALP by winning the seat in 1988. Labor's Don Bowman regained Swansea at the last election. However, after a total of 10 years in office, he'll retire from politics before the 1995 election.
I'll be nearly 59 at the time of the next election, and I think it's time to pass on the baton to somebody else.
The campaign to retain Swansea as the Labor seat began last night. 15 months before the next election, late Macquarie councillor Jill Hall was endorsed as the candidate to succeed Bowman.
I'm a community activist. I want to hear what the community's got to say, and I'll be trying to knock on every door in Swansea over that 15-month period.
Jane Anderson, NBN News. The newly commissioned HMAS Newcastle was on show in the city it was named after. It was an opportunity for the public to inspect at first hand the frigate's weaponry. Guided missiles designed to shoot enemy aircraft from up to 28 kilometres away and enemy ships at a distance of up to 70 kilometres. Also on board a Seahawk helicopter. The public could also visit HMAS Melbourne and Polar Sea, the American Coast Guard icebreaker. HMAS Newcastle will leave for Sydney tomorrow.
The Acquisitions exhibition features works the gallery has acquired over the past 2 years. Not all have been bought by the gallery.
We've purchased the majority of them, but a lot of them have been given to us or bequeathed to us. So there's a good variety of works there.
There are a few artistic coups in the collection. One, a sculpture standing more than 2 metres tall. The other, a major addition to the gallery's collection of works by the Heidelberg School artists.
The two most important are a painting by Arthur Strait called Australian December, which is one of his earliest paintings, and a modern sculpture by Akio Makigawa, who's a Japanese sculptor, and those two would be the most important.
The exhibition includes 15 works by local artists and is open until January the 16th.
Although it's nearly 2 years away, the Australian Ladies Golf Union is hard at work preparing for the huge triple event. Committee members inspected the Newcastle course at Stockton today, the venue for 2 tournaments to be staged after the Amateur Women's British Commonwealth event in Sydney in September 1995.
For the national comp, we are looking at about 120. We're hopeful that all the international players will come and play. And then for the interstate series, it's a team of 6 with a non-playing captain.
It's only the second time the national tournament has been played outside of Sydney, and it's been a long wait for New South Wales to host the event.
Each state only gets the national championship once every 6 years. So it really is a lot of work, a lot of planning, and particularly with the Commonwealth matches, there's a lot of planning to do.
For Australia's 110,000 amateur women golfers, 1995 will be the year to gain a few tips from the best on the circuit.
They will be the top amateur players from Canada, Great Britain and New Zealand, as well as our own team, plus all our other girls in Australia that are top golfers. So, you know, we can't compete with the pros, but we really have some wonderful amateur golfers.
The body of Kulnura man Timothy Clement was found this morning underneath Debenham Road at West Gosford. He was reported missing by his wife last Monday. A friend of the family searching for Mr Clement found his motorbike at around 9:30 this morning. A further search found Mr Clement's body in a nearby culvert. Police believe he crawled inside after crashing his bike. To determine how long Mr Clement lay injured. And near Raymond Terrace, a 26-year-old man was discovered at 6:20 this morning by a passing motorist in the wreckage of his car. Police say it appears the Raymond Terrace man lost control of the vehicle and rolled into a gully off Woodbury Road at Millers Forest. Police are unsure when the accident occurred, but say the driver, whose name has not been released, had been dead for a few hours. And also on the roads today, a lucky escape for an East Gosford man whose car plummeted down a 15-metre embankment onto a road. The man was driving on Henry Parry Drive when he was hit from behind. His car was sent crashing through a wooden barrier and over the embankment. Luckily, the road below was deserted. He was trapped by the legs for around 25 minutes and was taken to Gosford Hospital, where he remains in a satisfactory condition. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The Hunter Inter-Departmental Committee on Youth Affairs, or IDC, is the first regional committee of its kind. It's brought together representatives from various state and federal as well as community groups involved with youth issues. Don Munro has headed a similar network in Western Sydney, and although it's helped to promote youth affairs, it's been a slow process.
These sort of things take a long time. Departments don't change overnight. It takes a while for the needs of young people to be responded to. The Western Sydney IDC has taken about 3 years to come up with some very useful, productive work which will result in better services for young people.
One of the first goals of the Hunters IDC is to develop a strategic plan to provide better coordination between government bodies and sometimes overlooked community-based youth services.
IDCs do provide a major opportunity for people in the community and in particular community youth groups to be able to work with government departments so that the benefits and strengths of both types of organisations can end up with a better service for young people.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Alan Richard Howden disappeared a week ago. His partly clothed body was found floating in this dam at Main Creek near Dungog on Tuesday. Police revealed today Mr Howden died of a single stab wound. He was taken to the dam and his body weighted down. Police drained the dam this morning. It's believed they found what was used to anchor the body.
He was weighted down, but I can't say what he was weighted with.
Police are trying to trace Mr Howden's movements. His wife dropped him here at the Mayfield RSL Club on Thursday morning. He was last seen standing outside. Police aren't sure where Mr Howden went after leaving the RSL club or how he left because he didn't have a car. His family didn't report him missing. They've told police they thought he was on the family property at Taree. Police have been unable to obtain clear photos of Mr Howden, but they say he had receding grey hair, was of solid build, and he always wore an akubra hat, shorts and thongs. He also had a distinctive gold watch with a large face. That hasn't been found. Mr Howden had been out of work for around 5 years. He was last employed as a cleaner at Royal Newcastle Hospital. His wife and 3 children were told this morning of his death.
This morning we've been going around the hotels and clubs in his area where he lived, and relatives and friends to try and find some contact on his last movements, where he may have gone, and any contact he may have had with the Dungog area, which we can't establish at this stage.
Anyone who saw Mr Howden, perhaps at the RSL club, should contact police. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The front fence of the Gearing home in Bulls Garden Road, Whitebridge, has lacked its usual Christmas sparkle over the past 6 years. Santa and this message of good tidings have been the best the Gearings could offer, after thieves stole their display of Santa in his sleigh and a team of reindeer. However, a chance sighting of the errant Chrissy crew at Barnsley recently has led to their return home. For Mary and John Gearing, today's restoration took a bit of work to complete.
Put in about 3 days of about 8 hours each. A lot of the legs were broken off and the antlers, and one of the heads was missing.
The Gearings' Christmas spirit hasn't been dented by their experience, with the nativity scene being considered for next Christmas. The cliff area of Bar Beach provided the challenging conditions for today's ambulance service exercise. Members of Ambulance Rescue and SCAT, the Special Casualty Access Team paramedics, combined to practice their cliff rescue skills. Officers were faced with the scenario of the patient being injured halfway down the rugged terrain. Abseiling with a Stoke splitter to reach the scene saw officers put their skill to the test. Even though it was practice, the real dangers for the ambulance officers were ever present. The Hunter's Lifesaver Rescue helicopter also took part. While aircraft have revolutionised how rescues are carried out, today brought home to officers the importance of conventional equipment.
Police today released a new photo of Alan Howden. They're hoping someone might recognise him and help solve his brutal murder. Mr Howden's body, clothed only in underpants and light blue shorts, was found in a dam near Dungog on Tuesday. He'd been stabbed and his body was down to avoid detection. He was identified yesterday through fingerprints. Police now believe Mr Howden was at the Mayfield Ex-Services Club. His wife last saw him Thursday morning. They apparently had an argument and he left their Bridge Street house. Police aren't sure whether he returned that night. Police say he was of solid build. He always wore an akubra hat, had a gold filling in his front upper tooth and was wearing blue shorts and thongs. His large gold-faced watch and hat are missing. Detectives working from Newcastle and Maitland are anxious to talk to anyone who may have seen Mr Howden. They're baffled by his movements and why the Dungog area was chosen to dump his body. All information should be directed to the Newcastle Homicide Squad on 290 673. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
There was no shortage of Christmas cheer at the John Hunter's paediatric ward today, and Santa had brought some helpers in the form of Falcon Stars, Paul Kuiper and Martin McLean to spread the spirit. With only a week to go, children wasted no time in telling Santa what's on their Christmas wish list, some a little more choosy than others. This year, around 100 children will spend Christmas Day in the John Hunter, and someone special intends to share it with them.
So I'm going to wish all these children a very Merry Christmas, and I'll be here for sure at Christmas Day.
Opinion of certainly of the National Health and Medical Research Council and of the New South Wales Health Department.
It's pretty heavy. I'm not crazy. Definitely not crazy. But I know what to do about it. I want to play the music that I've written, which doesn't matter.
Jason Martin spent more time last season walking off the field than what he did playing. His right shoulder basically collapsed after tearing an important muscle in a tackle.
It didn't have much power in it. It tended to drop out of the socket. The muscles around it were pretty loose, and the tendons, so that's what I had to do. I had to go and get those tightened up. So it was pretty painful, and my game suffered because of that. And so I made the decision to get it done before I got dropped back to 21s or something like that.
Today he began physio after 12 weeks of basically doing nothing while it healed from surgery.
Well, I read a lot of books. I had to cut down my eating and put on a few kilos and that sort of stuff. But, I tended to use it as much as I could, to develop my mind more than anything, as the body was out of order. So, it wasn't wasted time, I suppose.
Return to full training was stopped after he re-injured the shoulder just a week after being given the all clear.
When I first went back after to get it checked out the first time, there was still a lot of pain there, and so I definitely can notice a difference, and it seems a lot better this time.
The time off has also seen his once thick shoulders waste away. After a few weeks physio, he will now begin a rigorous schedule of weights, swimming and running to be fit for the start of the season. He then has to battle a growing list of candidates for the job of first grade halfback.
Police say the Howden Commodore sedan swerved to the wrong side of the road before veering back across the left lane and continuing into a gum tree. The driver, who was the only person involved in the incident, was trapped in the crumpled wreck for more than an hour as rescue workers tried to release her. She remained conscious throughout the ordeal. The jaws of life eventually used to free her. The Westpac chopper arrived at the scene, about 5 kilometres west of Taree, and flew the girl to the John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle. She was then operated on for multiple leg, arm and facial fractures. Police are still investigating the crash. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. The usual peace and quiet of the Kelso property 40 kilometres south of Armidale was shattered just before 6:30 this morning. Peter Christakos was unloading frames for a house he was building on the farm when tragedy struck, his crane coming into contact with power lines. People nearby immediately started CPR on the 54-year-old and alerted emergency crews. An ambulance officer from Uralla arrived shortly after, followed by a crew from Armidale. The man was treated at the scene before being rushed to Armidale Hospital, but the efforts were in vain, with the man pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The death has prompted calls for greater care around power lines, especially farmers, during this season's harvest.
At this time of year, with wheat harvesting, the rural community should be very, very aware of power lines. With headers and augers, they can easily touch power lines and we can have tragedies such as this. Please look up and be aware.
Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. Competitors from 11 clubs were keen to improve their rankings in the Championship Series. Among the frantic thrashing and kicking, records were broken through the day. Wade Wright from Port Macquarie Swimming Academy set a new record in the 12-year boys 100 metres backstroke. He slashed 2 seconds off the old record with a time of 1 minute and 14.67 seconds. Casey Deanne King of Kempsey pruned her own record in the 11-year girls medley. She shaved half a second off her old record, setting a new time of 2 minutes 48.27 seconds. And Corey Samuelson from Port Macquarie Swimming Academy broke his brother Jason's record in the 9 years 50 metre freestyle with a time of 32.68 seconds. In the open men's 50 metre freestyle blue ribbon event, Port Macquarie's Aaron Hicks was triumphant, ploughing through the distance in a time of 25.65 seconds. The last event of the series will be held at Maxville in March.
Hello.
Up to 100 litres of waste oil covered Thorn Street, stopping short of the Hunter Mall in the city centre. It's believed a truck accidentally dropped part of its load.
Well, Brigade believes that a truck carrying possibly waste oils, trying a hill start in Thorn Street, lost a few of his containers off the back of the truck.
Spiro De Vius, a local shop owner, discovered the spillage when, to his surprise, his car couldn't grip the road. The fire brigade and council were called in to contain the spread of the waste oils. The main concern, the public's safety.
People are lighting from cars, slipping over, also cars doing hill starts from Thorn Street into King Street, possibly not getting across the intersection in time and possibly causing a collision.
The Environment Protection Authority supervised the clean-up, making sure there was no runoff into the Hunter River. Jane Anderson, NBN News. With less than a week before Christmas, Australia Post has been inundated by people wanting to get their good wishes delivered before the 25th. However, a fire lit by vandals last night in the Jesmond Post Office will mean some of those letters and cards won't get through. Mail posted between 6 p.m. and 11 was damaged by fire and smoke. Most of the letters were salvaged. Australia Post will contact senders if the letters can't be forwarded. Anyone concerned about letters sent should contact Jesmond Postmaster. Jane Anderson, NBN News.